81% of Black singles express interest in marriage. This is a 2025 survey by the Black singles dating app called BLK. It was also noted in an Ebony article some time ago. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Greetings, beloveds. I am Coach Felecia Killings, the founder and CEO of the Felecia Killings Foundation and the Conscious Conservative Movement. As I mentioned in previous videos, the foundation is not just a conscious conservative leadership organization, but we are also a think tank. And what we do over here is we develop research, analysis using quantitative and qualitative data, helping us to inform the solutions that we are presenting to a lot of the challenges we are seeing in today's conservative politics as well as in Black America, and learning how we can do things God's way so we get His results. That's the premise of conscious conservatism, taking spiritual laws, kingdom principles, and injecting them in the social, political, and economic spheres so we can start to get God-like results. Now, in the previous couple of videos, I talked to you about some of the data that has been coming out as it relates to Black Americans. And even though I talk about Black America very heavily within my platform, I also do quite a bit of work when it comes to evangelical, spiritual, and political leadership. And the reason for that is because within evangelicalism, and in case you don't know, evangelicalism is all I know. I was raised Black evangelical, Black Republican, and so this is my upbringing. And within our space, especially since the 1990s, we have been in what I call this national racial reconciliation moment. And this moment really was spurred by one of our former Black evangelical spiritual leaders, Dr. Casey Price, who came out of Los Angeles, California, and his message on race, racism, and religion really took the evangelical church nationwide by storm. And so a part of the work that we do within the foundation is not just how can we figure out a way to empower Black families and Black communities using conservative politics or conservative principles or what have you, but also focusing on evangelical, spiritual, and political leadership, teaching them how they can build this alliance with conservative Black Americans so that as Black Americans are interested in our politics or what have you, they will know how they can use these policies or these ideas to help protect what they build. And a part of the foundation tackles this social element, which includes marriages, it includes relationships, it includes the family structure. And as we all know, because you know conservative politics gets to run in their mouth, everybody loves to talk about Black people over here, but not in a positive way. Black culture, Black America, Black history, you know how it can get over here when it comes to Republicanism. These folks will pop off at the mouth as if their white culture is doing a great job, which it's not, but I'm digressing. And so what we did within the foundation and the conscious conservative movement is we put a smackdown on evangelicals and told them they had to put some respect on God's children who are also Black Christians. And so as we do that in a spiritual way, we are also looking at, okay, now that we've mastered this element, now that we've been able to capture the attention of the leadership here, now let's start talking about some of the ways in which we can start presenting programs and policies and ideas that are going to captivate Black audiences, conservative Black Americans, Black Christians who, like I said, might be interested in exploring Republicanism, evangelicalism, and whatnot over the next coming years. So, beloved, I want to talk to you about this next data point, which is something we are exploring over here, even in collaboration with Nicole Pinkston and Iconic Marriages. So recently I came across this stat from 2025. Again, it says that 81% of Black singles today, and this is really focusing on Black millennials and Generation Zers. Okay, 81% of black singles desire marriage. That is a huge number, especially when we consider that within America, generally speaking, that particular data suggests that Generation Z is not as interested in marriage. So it's very interesting to see this flip, right? So Generation Z, American wise, whatever, they don't have a strong desire for marriage. But when we are talking about Black American singles, there's a huge number of individuals who are ready or who desire to get married. But there are significant barriers that are preventing it from taking place. Some of those barriers include like today's, single men, Black single men and Black single women are not looking at marriage the same way that our parents did or our grandparents and our ancestors did in America. Black single men and Black single women are looking at marriage very differently. And so they are taking into account whether or not they are financially capable of being a part of or growing this kind of family structure. They're thinking about therapy. They're thinking about emotional intelligence. They're thinking about student loan debt. They are thinking about so many other factors that are playing into it. So that even though the rate or the percentage of interest is there, even though it's very high, there is this strong delay in Black single men and Black single women getting married. And so within the foundation, what we want to do is figure out how can we bridge this gap? How can we get to the point where these same singles are looking at marriage not as something that should be super, super, super delayed, but not also something that you just jump into just because, we used to have certain traditions. So in another video, I talked about this principle or this theory. It's not a principle. It's a theory that I have. And I was throwing out this theory on Facebook. I wish I could have thrown it out on Twitter because that would have been really great, interesting content. So anyways, this theory that I have is within Black America, if Black leadership, political leadership and spiritual leadership, which seems to dictate, pretty much what the people do, although culture is a part of that as well. But if Black leadership decided that they were going to make marriage a moral priority within Black America today, and if they combined that message with Black culture, and Black culture began to exemplify that message in particular, we would see a vast number of Black marriages happening nationwide. And it wouldn't be something that would have to take 10, 15, or 20 years for it to manifest. Rather, we would see it happening fairly quickly because it's the power of leadership being combined with the power of culture, which includes the arts, film, television, music, or whatnot. Once you see that kind of infusion, then the people who are receptive of all of this, they would begin to exemplify it. To the contrary, because there's so many Black political leaders who don't fully embrace the ideals of marriage, especially it being a moral priority, and then you couple that with the culture, the art, music, film, television that does not celebrate or embrace marriage the way that other cultures might do it, well, as a result, you don't have the people exemplifying that. And so getting back, let's go back to the stat that I brought up. 81% of Black singles today, Black millennials, Black Generation Zers, they have a desire to get married. They are making that desire very known. Like the relationship content across all social media platforms it's high. It is trendy. It's profitable at this point. So there's clearly a huge market for it. But if that is the case, why are the numbers still low? In a previous video, I talked about how the marriage rate, the legal marriage rate, because there are some people who like to pretend that they're married, but they're not. The legal marriage rate within Black America is just sitting at 30%. And one of the other questions I had asked of the culture, again, doing my research on Facebook, was how low does a number have to go before Black America and Black culture says we have to do something? Like, does it have to get to 20%? Does it have to get to 10%? Does it have to get to 5%? Before Black America says we actually have a major crisis on our hand, and if we don't preserve and conserve the traditions that really sustained our families during slavery, segregation, Jim Crow, all of that, if we don't have those structures preserved, what's going to happen to the culture 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What's going to happen to Black America if there are no more Black marriages? What's going to happen to Black America if the family structure is no longer present? So these are some of the research questions that I have been asking. And again, myself and other organizations who are part of conservative politics, these are questions we are exploring. And one of the reasons we have done this is because prior to the foundation, I love you, Holy Spirit. Prior to the foundation, prior to the conscious conservative movement, there was no organization here that was really trying to explore what's taking place within Black America and how conservative politics can empower her. I mean, again, they'll gossip, obviously, about Black people. They will use Black data to try and make themselves feel like superior, to Black America. But there was no organization that was present to not just talk about the problem and not just present ideas to solve the problems, but to actually create programs that would enable the people to come and participate so that we start to see the shift. And that's what we have right now when it comes to the foundation. We have a new program called the CCM Love, Marriage, and Family Leadership Program. And this is a 12-week program, online program, where we are walking you through singles, even some couples, if you are looking to get married, walking you through a process of learning how to prepare yourself for marriage. So you Black millennials, if you're a part of the 81%, you might be thinking, I definitely want to get married. I do not want to live the rest of my life alone. I want to have children. I want to have legacy. I want to have all of that. But I also have these issues that I'm really worried about. Well, what we do over here at the foundation is we help walk you through that process. And then we give you the tools that you need to prepare yourself. Now, let me say this, just because the program is 12 weeks, it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be ready for marriage within 12 weeks. No, actually, the preparation takes a lot longer. But this at least gives you the tools and the resources necessary to get you on that pathway. And in addition to that, we'll introduce you to some of our experts who can help you along the way. So if you decided after the 12-week training that you wanted to continue your training, you could hire the marriage coaches that we will bring your way. You could fellowship with some of the church leaders that we will bring your way. Like, there's so many things that you can do after you have completed the 12-week program. And what we're going to do within the foundation is we are going to use your story as a powerful case study to prove to evangelical, spiritual, and political leadership that this pathway, that this structure, that this program we've developed over here actually works. And that's when they start sending the money to help expand it nationwide. That's what we're trying to do over here. So I just wanted to drop that little stat for you. 81% desire marriage, but there are so many barriers in between it. And for Black America, she has to ask herself, how are we going to address that part? What are we going to do to make that happen? Because even if, let's say, because sometimes, all the time, Democrats typically believe that government can solve the problem. And you know who else has that same issue? Progressive conservatives. But I digress on that one. I'll have to talk to you about how those folks operate over here on this side. But anyways, when you have that kind of a problem, it is imperative to come up with that solution. And one of the questions, again, I'm asking the culture is what is the marriage rate? How low does it have to go before you start to really say, like, we actually have an issue on our hand and we have to address this? And if this is my message to Black leadership, if you see this as a crisis, why is it that those of us on the conservative side are the only ones addressing it? You may not like Black Republicans, you may not like Black conservatives, you may hate how we vote, but why are we the only ones on this side actually addressing it? And not just addressing it in a way that, is just temporary. Because like I said, these people run their mouth all the time. So you just got to ask yourself, like, again, how low does that number have to go? And why are Black Republicans the ones addressing this and not Black Democrats? Anyways, beloveds, do what you do best, like and subscribe so that we can get some traction over here on this side of YouTube. And then check out more of our newest program. You can check the descriptions below, click those links, do all that jazz, and we will continue with our data, our research, and we will bring you everything that we know and learn, because we are just really committed to doing things God's way this round, even in our social empires. Be blessed, beloved.